Welcome to Lecture 5.1, in which we will provide an overview of energy and energy transfer. As we will learn, all energy used by living organisms is derived from the sun. Our learning objectives for this video are to define energy and distinguish between potential and kinetic energy, understand how energy flows through living systems, and differentiate between the first and second law of thermodynamics and apply them to living systems. First, what is energy? Energy is defined as the capacity to do work. In this case, work refers to the ability to move or change in structure. Energy can take on many forms, as seen in this non-comprehensive group of images here. Light or radiant energy is the energy that comes from the sun. Chemical energy refers to the energy that is stored in bonds when they are formed and released when the bonds are broken. All energy can be converted into heat, which can then be measured in units of joules or calories. Whenever you see the word calories on a nutrition label, that is actually referring to kilocalories, which is equal to 1,000 calories. We eat food to obtain the calories or energy that we need to live, and we burn calories when we use energy, and some of it is released as heat. While energy can take on many different forms, we usually divide energy into two different types. One is kinetic energy, which is energy produced by objects in motion. The other is potential energy, which is the energy that is stored in objects. These two types of energy can be converted into one another. For example, if we kick a ball up a hill, the ball is moving by kinetic energy. Now that it is up on the hill, some of the energy that was used to move it is stored inside of it as potential energy. If we give the ball a little push to roll it back down, it will release the potential energy that was stored as kinetic energy again. Bioenergetics refers to how energy flows through living systems. All of the energy that living organisms use is derived from the light energy provided by the sun. Photosynthesis, which we will learn about soon, is the process that takes the light energy and converts it into chemical energy stored in carbohydrates. This is done by what we call producers, which are often plants. This process essentially takes water and carbon dioxide and then uses energy to build them into carbohydrates. The plants can then use these carbohydrates themselves, or consumers can eat the plants and use the energy. We will learn about how we obtain energy from carbohydrates in the next lecture on cellular respiration, which involves taking the carbohydrates and oxygen and using it to produce energy in the form of ATP. Heat will always be produced as a byproduct of energy transfer at each of these steps and be released into the environment. To understand energy transfer, we'll have to talk a bit about thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is the study of energy and energy transfer. We will define a system as all of the components that are involved in energy transfer. An open system means that the system is exchanging energy with its surroundings. For example, let's say we have a pot of water on the stove. In this case, our system would be the stove, the pot, and the water in the pot. As the stove heats up, the energy from the stove is transferred to the pot, which is then transferred to the water to warm it up. This is an open system because the water is releasing energy as heat into its surroundings. A closed system means that the system is not exchanging energy with its surroundings, and the energy is being kept in the system. This is like if we were to put a lid on top of the pot, which would prevent heat from escaping into the environment. All biological organisms are open systems, so we will always be exchanging energy with our environment and releasing heat as a byproduct. There are several laws of thermodynamics, but we will only discuss the first and second law. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy must be conserved. In other words, even though energy can be converted from one form to another, it cannot be created nor destroyed. For example, when we talked about photosynthesis earlier, that involves the transformation of light energy into chemical energy. When we use energy ourselves, we are transforming the chemical energy we get from food into motion. Similarly, cars use chemical energy from gasoline as a source of energy for movement. For a stove plugged into an outlet, we are converting electrical energy into thermal energy. In all of these cases, the total amount of energy will remain the same, just existing in different forms. The second law of thermodynamics has to do with the efficiency of energy transfer, or the lack of efficiency. It states that when energy is being transferred or converted from one form to another, heat will always be released as a byproduct. That means that not all of the energy is fully converted from light energy to chemical energy in photosynthesis, and some of it is lost to the environment as heat. When energy is released into the environment as heat, it can no longer be used. This heat that was released will often manifest as increased motion or randomness. Entropy refers to the amount of randomness or disorder in the system. You may have heard before that entropy must always increase. This is because things will naturally move towards a state of disorder unless energy is actively being used to maintain order. Let's look at the concentration gradient of sodium as an example. The side with higher concentration is more ordered because there is less space for each individual ion to move. Since there is more order, there is less entropy. These sodium ions will naturally want to move down their concentration gradient to spread out, which will increase the randomness because now each individual sodium ion has more options on how it can move around. At equilibrium, each individual ion will essentially have the maximum amount of randomness in movement they can have, which means entropy is higher. To maintain the concentration gradient and keep orderliness, it's necessary to use pumps that require energy. In this video, we learned that energy is the capacity to do work and can be converted between potential and kinetic energy. On Earth, the sun provides energy that is used by all living organisms, with the producers harnessing the light energy and converting it into chemical energy that other organisms can use. All biological organisms are open systems because they all exchange energy with the environment. The first law of thermodynamics states that total energy must be conserved, so whether the energy is transformed from one form to another or is transferred from one organism to another, the total amount of energy in the world will remain the same. The second law of thermodynamics states that when these energy transfers take place, they are not completely efficient, and some of the energy is released into the environment as heat. This leads to an increase in entropy or disorder. In the next video, we will begin talking about energy in the context of chemical reactions and ATP. Thanks for watching.